Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the the Ajax press room ahead of Rangers versus Ajax, the Johan Cruyff Arena here in Amsterdam ahead of match day one in the Champions League. The team news is out. We've been just getting ourselves sorted, so sorry we're a little bit delayed. Just one change for Rangers from their 4-0 Old Firm defeat. The weekend, Scott Wright comes back in. He replaces Stephen Davis, which means Glenn Kamara moves back to the base of midfield. I've just got the team here in front of me, so I'll read it if you have not already seen it, or just to refresh your memory. It's Jon McLaughlin in goals, a back four of Tavernier, Golson, Sands and Barisic. Kamara and Lundstrom sitting in front of them. Presumably it'll be Scott Wright and Ryan Kent on the right and left, either side of Malik Tillman, and behind Antonio Čolak. So not too many surprises in there. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst seemed to, in his press conference yesterday, infer that there wouldn't be too many changes to the starting 11, in spite of the fact that the side obviously suffered that heavy defeat at Celtic Park. And as it turns out, Scott Wright, the only player that comes in from the start of the bench, is McGregor, McCrory, Reid van Yilmaz, Ben Davies, Leon King, Devine, Jack, Davis Arfield, Matondo, Morelos and Fashion Jr. So I guess the notes from the bench is that Rabbi Matondo, having missed the game at the weekend with a virus through illness, he comes back into the team. Alfredo Morelos continues his place on the bench. Some suggestions over whether he may start, but I think he's still probably a little bit lacking in match sharpness, having only, I think, come off the bench once since returning to the squad after he was omitted from the team that travelled to the Netherlands just a couple of weeks ago. And he joins, as I say, Matondo on the bench as well. They're so offensively, I guess. Well, and another point of note, is that Ben Davies is back on the bench after he's not featured for Rangers, I think, since the win over St Johnstone a few weeks ago domestically. So good to see him back on the bench. A few offensive options, and there obviously Scott Arfield's come off the bench a lot for Rangers this season. Morelos, everyone knows his capabilities, and I think a lot of people would like to see him go up against Calvin Bassey at some point tonight. And Rabbi Matondo, yet to really see him kick on in his Rangers career. He obviously has that pace that is, well coveted, that might be able to be put to good use. Rangers look like they'll set up in a similar way maybe to as they did away in Eindhoven, with that kind of 4-2-3-1 shape. Kamara back at the base with Lundstrom, I think probably his best position, instead of playing a little bit higher. Tillman central behind Čolak, trying to get close to him and offer Rangers an avenue up the pitch. Scott Wright and Ryan Kent, as I say, either side of him. I'll read you out the Ajax team as well. I've got that in front of me. It's Pasveer, Timber, Bassey, Alvarez, Bergwijn, Taylor, Tadic, Wrench, Blind, Kudos and Berg Huis, I think it's pronounced. So not too far from what you thought with Ajax playing with one holding midfielder. You'd imagine that they'd go, because Rangers are, as we wrote on the site today and with our kind of scout report, you'd imagine they'd use that build-up shape and shape when they're in possession that they have done largely throughout the early stages of the season, with Timber and Bassey perhaps joined by Blind tucking into form a back three. Calvin Bassey, normally the deepest player everyone watching, obviously knows all about his recovery pace and his ability to allow a team to defend high up the pitch. Normally it's been for Rangers. Tonight will be against him. It'll be intriguing to see how he does in the game. It was addressed yesterday in the press conference by James Tavernier, who obviously said that as much as it'll be great to see him once him and his teammates are on the pitch, Bassey will just be another player trying to stop them from getting a result away in Europe. So by now, I think after the weekend's game still very much lingers, and I think you can tell that in the build-up to this game, but equally this is Rangers' first shot at the big time, first shot at Champions League football in 12 years. It's now a long time. It's been well earned with a lot of fantastic Europa League performances over the years. The stadium, which we'll take you to, will be live from there after the game. It's just an absolutely fantastic arena. I've got a video up there on our Twitter feed of it, just huge in stature. I think it's only about 5,000 more seats than Ibrox actually, so it's a similar size, but it's more of a bowl shape. And I think it will take a fantastic Rangers performance to get anything from here. But for me, it's so important that they get some sort of positive performance to take into the weekend's game against Aberdeen. Rangers have 5 games now between now and the start of the international break. Dundee United at home and Aberdeen at home in the league. Ajax away tonight, and then who else is it? Napoli at home. I think after that 4-0 Old Firm defeat, it's just absolutely imperative that they have some goodwill going into the international break, something for supporters to look at from the early stages of the season domestically and see, I guess, believe in what they're doing in the league. And that was what Van Bronckhorst said yesterday. He said he trusts this squad, he thinks it's good enough. And I think over the next 4 games, that'll definitely be put to the test. Right, let's get through some comments. Comment here saying, look how good McLaughlin was away to PSV, need to get behind the team. Yeah, that's kind of, I think, one of the discussions that we've been having on the podcast leading up to the show. If you were to drop Jon McLaughlin tonight, I think it's twofold. It's probably a wrong decision. Number one, Rangers looked much better playing out from the back. They didn't in the Old Firm, but largely throughout the start of the season, I think with McLaughlin, and I think he offers you that in a way that McGregor doesn't. So do you abandon a big part of your play? He did play well in PSV, but if you drop him now and a goalkeeper makes mistakes, say in a couple of weeks, say McGregor and McCrory, do you switch it again? I think it's important for a team to have a recognised number one, and for a player to feel that not that there's not consequences for bad performances, but they have the confidence of the manager, particularly when McLaughlin, who has obviously come in and become the Rangers number one last season. He'll know there's a lot of attention on him, but whether it was a good decision to make him the number one and stick with him is a decision. I guess the validity of that will be determined in the next few games, depending on how he does, over the next few games, and whether it's an area that Rangers should have addressed in the summer. Stuart said, would you say this game is a free hit for Gio, or is it another hiding, putting him at risk? I don't think the sense you get from the press conference is that I think from Van Bronckhorst's point of view, the manner of the goals they conceded, and I think this probably came through in James Tavernier's press conference as well, means that they'd maybe regard it as something of a freak result, but I don't think that sentiment is widely shared probably out with that. You did sense a confidence from Van Bronckhorst, so I think always comes across as quite self-assured, and I'm sure he'll come here tonight and think, I want to go and win this game, just as he did in Eindhoven. It's no secret to anyone watching this video or anyone viewer of our channel or watcher of Rangers that so often these nights have brought out the best in the team comparably to domestically. I was speaking about that today. I think it's something about, and Tavernier was again yesterday, that the tempo, Rangers don't have to set a tempo in a game like this. That takes care of itself. The game opens up. It's not so much about creating the tempo, creating the chances. And I think that suits them a little bit better. That allows them to play their best football. So I think Van Bronckhorst will be thinking, I want to go and win another famous European tie for Rangers. And I think what is so important, and what a lot of the support will be thinking as well, is that's all very well and true, but that needs to go into Aberdeen on Sunday. They need to see an impressive away performance domestically as well. So it's a big couple of games coming up, and I think tonight is obviously no exception of that. Just get through a couple more comments before we head up to the game. I think it's a game where Rangers, much like in Eindhoven, they need to, the atmosphere in here I'm sure will be fantastic, and Rangers will need to try and temper that, to try and get through the first 10-15 minutes without allowing the crowd to get up. And what you've seen in Eindhoven was Rangers in a way managed to turn that and ensure that the atmosphere wasn't one that kind of overwhelmed and went with the home crowd, because they weren't really able to build that momentum. It's going to be a big task. It'll be intriguing to see how it plays out. Ajax, obviously, as we wrote on the website today and on our scout report of them, a top team with a lot of quality over the pitch. Bergwijn, I think in particular, is one that has scored a lot of goals in at the start of the season, and probably their main danger man going into this. So whether you're at the stadium or watching at home, enjoy the game. Hopefully it's an enjoyable 90 minutes. We'll be live after the game with the press, with a post-match podcast after we've been in the press conference, and we'll also be, of course, keeping up to date on Twitter as well. So do follow us on that. If you don't, hit your notifications on for after the game, and we will speak to you after the 90 minutes.